Adam at Trump Nation here. Here's a crazy idea. Let's, with this controversy go on, hear what David Duke actually said. This is not an endorsement. I don't feel the need to disavow anyone.
I want to ask you about the Anti-Defamation League, which this week called on you to publicly condemn unequivocally the racism of former KKK Grand Wizard David Duke, who recently said that voting against you at this point would be treason to your heritage. Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, you know, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
But I guess the question from the Anti-Defamation League is, even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say unequivocally you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group that I know nothing about. I have to look. If you would send me a list of the groups, I will do research on them, and certainly I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong.
But
you may have groups in there that are totally fine, and it would be very unfair. So give me a list of the groups, and I'll let you know.
Okay. I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but...
I don't know, honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him. I'm pretty sure I didn't meet him, and I just don't know anything about him.
I'm David Duke, and this is a quick, unscripted response to the CNN interview today with Donald Trump. And it's basically a direct response to Donald Trump and to the people of America who deserve to hear both sides of every issue. And the first thing that I'll say is I agree with Donald Trump and that the media in this country is absolutely disgusting. It is biased through and through. There are some exceptions, but it's extremely biased, and I'll go into those biases in a minute. I can begin by the inaccurate reporting of the media that I have endorsed Donald Trump. Specifically, I have said clearly, and every time I've talked about his candidacy, that I am not endorsing Donald Trump. There are a few issues that Donald Trump has that I disagree with. However, I believe his position on the mass immigration into this country, both legal and illegal, is critical to the future of the United States of America. And he's the candidate and the reason why this issue is being discussed today. I honor him for that. I also agree with his trade policy and a few other issues. But I disagree with him on some other things. But the point is, I have not endorsed him, but I do think that we should vote for him. And I will vote for him as a strategic means to promote the illegal issue or the illegal immigration issue and against two Republican contenders who I believe are total traitors to the United States of America, the Republican Party, conservative principles. Even the leftist Democrats know that changing the demographics of America ensure more of a cultural Marxist future. We are in the most critical election probably in our history, and Donald Trump is the guy that really stands up on this particular issue, unlike the other two candidates. Now you look at Rubio. Rubio is a member of the Gang of Eight trying to pass direct amnesty before the American Congress. That is just total destruction for the Republican Party, for conservatism, and I think for the principles of the American people. And then you have Ted Cruz, who pretends and says how much he opposed amnesty in the U.S. Senate, but he's nothing but a bald-faced liar. Ted Cruz literally tried to save Obama's amnesty bill at the last minute, when it was certain that the bill would be voted down by the House. He tried to offer an amendment which simply, basically was an amnesty provision, but without citizenship. He literally said that he was for the amnesty bill to the members of the committee, that if you pass my amendment, it would allow full legalization of illegal aliens and allow them to, quote, come out of the shadows. Now he's a big liar saying that he opposed amnesty. This is the only way that bill could have passed, is if that amendment would have passed. And Ted Cruz is all for it. He was for it. He said this repeatedly, both in media and in that speech. You can hear that on my own video about Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. You can find that at davidduke.com. Now let's go into some of the other aspects, some of the aspects of the media lies about Donald Trump and David Duke. Now let's go into the subject of the, quote, Ku Klux Klan and the fact that the media, every time they mention my name, they mention the KKK. Well, I can prove to you very simply, to any of you who are open-minded, that that is nothing more than media bias. It's a manipulation of you and a complete distortion of reality. The fact is that I am not in the KKK. I haven't been in the KKK now almost 40 years, and I was only a KKK spokesman for about 3 years of a non-violent Klan group. I went on after that, and I won elected office as a Republican to the House of Representatives in Louisiana, where I was a full member of the Republican caucus, an accepted member by my fellow Republicans who voted for my legislation almost unanimously. I have a perfect Republican voting record. I served actually 8 years as an elected Republican in office, one term in the House of Representatives in Louisiana, and then one term as chairman of the largest Republican district. I ran for governor of Louisiana, and I was so popular among Republicans, the real Republicans, not the party bosses, that I literally defeated by a landslide the sitting Republican governor who betrayed the Republicans of my state. I won 480,000 or 490,000 votes compared to his 410,000 votes. I crushed him, and I became, in effect, the Louisiana Republican nominee of the party. At that point, I was betrayed by the party bosses, the same way they're trying to betray Donald Trump and talking about a third party run. And then they worked hard to support the liberal Democrat. A lot of these so-called conservatives, like Crystal and others, are even saying that Hillary is preferable over Trump. These are traitors to the Republican Party. So I've been a Republican a long, long time. I've been an effective Republican. I ran in the primaries for president in 1992. And even though I was only allowed to go in 14 primaries, my average vote total was higher than 13 out of the 17 Republicans. And that's even without not being allowed in the debate, because the Republican bosses kept me out of the debate. These people were not voting for me because I was KKK. I'm not KKK. And they were voting for me because I was talking about issues 25 years ago that people like Donald Trump and many other Republicans are now talking about. Even a lot of what Rubio talks about trying to get votes, even though I don't think it's sincere. And of course, what the complete liar Ted Cruz talks about, trying to take these issues from people like me. I'm the one who's changed the Republican Party. The New York Times, in fact, writes that my platform became the GOP's mainstream platform. If people would have listened to me 25 years ago when I was running, we wouldn't have this horrific crisis of 11, 12 million people in this country illegally, the criminality that comes from it, the demographic change of this country, which will be disastrous for the United States of America. Now let's talk about the media treatment of this. Okay, Donald Trump was being attacked because I said I didn't endorse him. First of all, they lied about my quote endorsement. And then I said that we should make a strategic vote for Donald Trump because of the immigration bill and other bills. They literally said that Donald Trump basically was like me, or somehow that he's a supporter of all my programs or myself, or that he was even associated with the KKK. Listen to the interview today. They said David Duke and the KKK. If David Duke likes you, then you're like the KKK. It's ridiculous, and I can prove to you why this is a total ridiculous lie. There has been a number of other people who've been in the KKK and the American government, prominent people. And not very long ago, in 2010, the president pro tem, the guy who was the most powerful senator in the United States of America, third in line in succession for president of the United States under Barack Obama, was a former KKK leader. In fact, he was an exalted cyclops. That was the, I know these are strange titles, the title in the organization. He was in the Klan. The next decade of his life passed when I got out of the Klan a lot earlier than he did, right? But guess who endorsed this man? Guess who made this former Klansman the most powerful senator in the United States of America, and also had him as leader of the Democratic Party. Well, it was Hillary Clinton, it was also Ted Kennedy, and it was also Barack Obama. Yes, Barack Obama. You know, it was okay with him for a former Klansman to be head of the United States Senate. If it is legitimate to talk about my Klan background, then you better start talking about Mr. Byrd. Mr. Byrd, senator from West Virginia. So you see the hypocrisy of what's going on here. Now you can see in the internet, you can get hundreds of interviews, thousands of interviews with Mr. Byrd. They never even mention his background. Sometimes they mention it in a footnote, or they say, well, isn't it great that you can change and you can overcome this in your life? And that's the thing. If I were to become a liberal or a leftist or a pro-immigrationist or a pro-Zionist or something like that, they wouldn't be condemning me. They'd say, isn't it great David Duke can overcome his past? The media is totally biased, ladies and gentlemen. I'll give you another example. Bernie Sanders presents himself as a socialist. The interesting thing is, he actually was a very radical communist as a young man. I can prove that to you. The groups he belonged with were open communist front organization. He praised communists for years. He marched with them. He fought for them. He joined them. Have you seen one headline saying Bernie Sanders, former communist, or former communist Bernie Sanders? Nelson Mandela is one of those heroes. They make him out to be Saint Mandela today in our media. Nelson Mandela, I've got a picture of him, which I'll show in this video, a picture of him with Nelson Mandela making a clenched fist salute in front of a communist flag with Joe Slovo, the Stalinist head of the Communist Party. He was a member of the Communist Central Committee in South Africa, communist revolutionary who, by the way, was a terrorist bomber. Have you ever seen a headline of Nelson Mandela, former communist terrorist Nelson Mandela? You see, it's not my past. It's not the fact that I was in the Klan almost 40 years ago. That's a problem with the media. The problem with them is the facts that I'm saying right now. Now let's discuss another lie of the media. Do you never notice that whenever they deal with people like me and they're basically saying to Donald Trump, do you agree with this white supremacist David Duke? Well, to Donald Trump and all of you out there listening, the fact is, and anybody can verify this on my site, in my books, in my daily radio show, every day, Monday through Friday, almost every day I talk about this. Almost every day of my life, my entire adult life, I've always made it clear, crystal clear, that I am not a white supremacist, and I condemn any sort of racial supremacism. That's a fact. I've condemned it. I've also always condemned violence or any sort of violent activity. In fact, they should be saying, boy, you were a good impact on people who called themselves that back in those times, but they don't do it. The hypocrisy of the media is unbelievable, folks. So that's what they do. So it's not relevant to say KKK. In fact, half the media sometimes, just like Mr. Tapper in the interview at the end, he says, are you going to denounce the KKK and David Duke? They put it in one breath. It's dissemblance, folks. It's lies. I appreciated the fact that Donald Trump said that he needed to read my material and look into what I said before he could condemn me for so-called white supremacism. In fact, as I said, I condemn any supremacist of any race that tries to oppress others or harm others or hurt others. In fact, every people has a right to be preserved. Notice how the controlled media basically calls any white person, any European American who simply wants to preserve his European heritage, is the heritage of Western civilization, his values, his very people, and who seeks to address the issues that are important to his people. Like, for instance, gun control, the right to keep and bear arms, is very important to European Americans. If you look at the demographics, it is not as important to other population groups. The same thing is true in certain tax areas. The same thing is true of certain immigration issues that are vital. Why is it that you can have organizations that work very hard for Mexican issues, for Mexican interests, like La Raza Unida, which means the United Race? La Raza, that means the race. Nobody calls them racist. Nobody calls them Mexican supremacist. Why do you have groups? You have thousands of groups that work for what they see as Jewish interests, even the interest of Israel, a foreign nation. And these organizations openly stand up for what they think to be in the interest of the Jewish establishment and the Jewish people. That's okay. That's not a problem in our society. And you have organizations for every other group, but if a white person simply wants to defend his heritage, and don't forget, folks, that European Americans were the people who wrote, every writer of our Constitution of the United States, every writer of our Declaration of Independence, the founding of our culture, our values, the bringing the Christian faith to this continent, the creation of the greatness of America has been overwhelmingly European. Why in the world should we sit back and let ourselves become a tiny minority in the very nation our forefathers created? I can tell you, I've traveled the world, and there's no people anywhere in the world that would let their own people be overcome by that. If you have a problem, if you think that immigration of massively different people into your country is a good thing, just ask any Palestinian and ask them what they think of immigration. They literally have been kicked out of their own home. Now, I know Donald Trump doesn't agree with me on that, and I do really believe that he will try to truly put America first in all things, that he'll be the president of the United States of America and not any other country, and he'll be looking out for the interests of the American people. This is what I believe.